Welcome to Office Hours. We're so excited to have this. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Mike with DNSFilter, and this is our second event in our Waiting for DataCon series. Sorry. We were, like everyone, love going to those events, and it's a great time to get to see other service providers, share information, hear from vendors. So this is kind of our virtual breakout session for Office Hours, and then we'll do a happy hour towards the end. And while everybody's connecting here today, I'm going to introduce some of the team that we've got on the line here. And I didn't give them any particular heads up, but John Cohen is our customer support manager, and he's going to be walking us through our Active Directory today. John, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. And so what do you do as customer support manager here at DNSFilter?
As the technical support manager, I oversee all support and some kind of a mix of a little bit of technical assistance on the internal company side. Any day-to-day duties may include overseeing tickets, making sure the team is up and doing what they're supposed to be doing. That is the technical support team. And just assisting all of our customers in any issues or questions they may have.
So any customers on the line today may already know you. People who are going to become customers could get to know you. And we'll look forward to you talking about Active Directory a little bit here today. Mikey, next, there's our product manager. Mikey, feel free to turn your camera on so it's not just me smiling into the camera while you talk. You're the product manager here. How long have you been the product manager, and what's that role?
I've been the product manager here for about 8 months or so, and my role here is to interface with all the stakeholders. We have our co-founders, you as customers, and just take all the feedback that you guys have and make our product better.
Yep. And you're going to be handling the Q&A after we hear about Active Directory today.
Yep, and I've got my power animal here to assist.
Any questions you can't answer, she's there for.
Exactly.
All right. And then we've also got Josh Lamb. Josh is the marketing director. I spent a lot of time working with Josh. Josh, you've been with the company DNSFilter for quite a while. What's been kind of your evolution here?
Years now, and yeah, just really enjoyed seeing the product grow. Like, I really love any events that we have with MSPs, and yeah, I guess really put on this event and work with Mike and Serena. But yeah, like everybody, really missing DataCon being a part of things in real life, but at least it's postponed and not canceled, so that's good.
Yeah, so you and Serena really helped pull this together. You'll probably get more involved when we jump over to the happy hours portion of the session here, but we'll talk to you again in a bit, Josh. And then finally, we have Serena, who's really the one who made all this happen. You there, Serena?
Yes, I am here. Hi, everybody.
Serena was hoping to stay off the camera, but she got kind of sucked in now.
I was genuinely hoping to stay off the camera, but oh well, I'm here. I'm the content producer at DNSFilter. So I work, if you've read our blog, that's me. I'm writing a lot of it, putting out white papers, some of the resources that we're putting together for MSPs. I'm helping to put those together so that our MSP partners have great resources to share with their clients.
Awesome. Thanks, Serena.
Yep.
And I'm Mike Sutton. I'm the marketing ops analyst here at DNSFilter. I have a background in IT. I had a managed services company back in 2014 that I had sold. And so I'm going to help moderate the conversation here a little bit today. Let me bring up my slides, and I'll tell you what we're going to be doing. All right. So this is our office hours session, kind of our breakout from DataCon that never happened because we spent a lot of time planning for it. I'm sure you guys wanted to be there. So try and do what we can to recreate the experience a little bit. And what we're going to do today is we're going to introduce our new Active Directory functionality that we recently released in DNSFilter. And that demo is going to be provided by John, who we just heard from, our technical support manager. Once John introduces you to Active Directory through the demo that he's going to give, then we'll turn the show over to Mikey, who's going to do the Q&A with you. We do have the Q&A open, so as John is giving his presentation, you can start putting your questions into the Q&A, and Mikey will get through those during that second part of the meeting. And then we'll do to wrap it up is move to a happy hour environment. So we'll post a Zoom link. We're going to move everybody over to Zoom. You can come hang out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, chat with the other MSPs. We'll break out into breakout rooms and see how many people we have that we can keep that conversation going with a little bit, and end the day on a little bit of a social note. We did recently release our Active Directory. And what we have new in our Active Directory integration is that we've enabled per user filtering for the roaming clients as of January 2020. And this is something, when we released the Active Directory integration, entered beta in early May. So we had a group that we worked with through Slack, and some of the early adopters. We went live with this functionality last week. Major features of the Active Directory integration include the sync tool, allowing you to sync with your Active Directory Azure instance. Also the collection support, where you're able to see your user groups and apply policies. And then the Data Explorer, where you can drill into your per user data. But talking about it doesn't do it justice, especially me stumbling along. So I'm going to actually turn it over to John, who has a ton of experience with this functionality. He's going to give us a great overview and demo right now. John, it's all yours.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so let's just start presenting here. Great. So first things first, let's just give you guys a quick background of what we're looking at. Most of you are probably extremely familiar with this window, but this is just our Active Directory users and computers window to show you our tree. This is, of course, just for demo purposes, so it's not going to be as fleshed out as what some of you are currently managing. But we have our DNSFilter OU with some computers, desktop, laptops, and users, and the various departments. So these do have actual people in it. And if we go to the dashboard, as you're all probably quite familiar with this one, we've now added a few new windows, a few new pages that you're able to access. The first one we're going to go through is the Sync Tools page. This is where you can manage, rename, or add and delete sync tools. And to do so, we just need to click on Install Sync Tool. We're going to name it something like Demo Webinar and continue. And then we're presented with the Install Your Sync Tool page. Now, as you all most likely know, we do offer, or do have already, a secret key that is binded to your roaming clients. This is, or to your sites and roaming clients. So this is a little bit different. As the sync tool inherently is a lot more sensitive in what it's pulling, this secret key will disappear if I leave this page. So we're going to want to make sure to copy that. And then just step 2, download and install it. The installation is quite run-of-the-mill. Just got to click through the prompts. I have already installed it, so it is ready to go here, right here. So if we're looking at the first page that we're presented with, it is your secret key and the frequency. The frequency meaning the time cycle of when the sync tool touches your server and sends that information over to us, your Active Directory. So we're actually going to change that to 5 minutes, and we're going to copy over the secret key. Next thing is the AD Server Settings tab. Here it's pretty intuitive, pretty self-explanatory. We got a server list and server information with the server object list that's going to be populated in a few moments. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the server. Because I am doing this on a Active Directory server and not a domained computer or Active Directory joint computer, it's going to populate all the information automatically that it needs. And again, we're on the server that we're going to be pulling the information from, so I do not need to provide a username and password. But this functionality is available on any domain computer, or even a non-domained computer that is on the same network, as long as you have the username and password required to pull this information from your Active Directory. So currently this is not available, or it is available on both, but my server, the test server here, is not running TLS. So we're just going to test the connection. Connection test was successful, and we're going to load the tree. So instantly it pulls pretty much everything, but really all I want is the DNSFilter OU computers and users. So I'm going to checkbox those, click save, and if all is added correctly, if I go back to the sync tool, we can tell that the demo webinar has been added, and we can also see that its first sync was just now a few seconds ago. So what does this mean? It basically means that all of these OUs and users in here, whoops, that one's empty. For example, these have been now grabbed and sent to our servers. So if I go to collections and I'm going to create a new collection, we're going to name, or we're going to first set it to managed. Manual versus managed, I'll go over that in just a second, but managed means that it is going to be a sync tool grabbed list, and manual can be added from any users your roaming clients picked up without the sync tool. But we're going to go with the managed option. We're going to name it the webinar collection, and we're going to add that. So it can right off the bat see all the sync tools I have installed, and we're going to only sync the DNS. There we go. DNSFilter.internal, DNSFilter OU, and the DNSFilter OUs for computers and users. And here are all the OUs for the different departments. And I can then also toggle all the users that are inside of these different OUs that we've created. So if we save these changes, I can now go back to my collections tab, view the webinar collection, and I will then be able to see, where are you? There it is. Oh, I will then be able to edit and see all of the ones I've created. So if I move over to the users tab, I'm able to view all the various users that I've synced from my sync tool, and to also see which part or which collection these users are a part of or members of. And this is going to come into play here in a few moments. But we can manage our users just like you would normally, as well as now view which collections they're a member of. So in the collections tab, if I have a let's say a VP or a VIP person in my company, and they're part of the webinar collection, as well as the VP collection, but I want them to have a lax policy versus the webinar collection, which I just want them to have the generic block adult content. We can then set the priority by dragging and dropping any and all collections that we have. So obviously the VP should be first priority. This way it picks up as the highest, it's going to be the highest priority, which means that the policy applies to it and not the block adult content policy that the number 4 here, webinar collection, has. And that's pretty much it for the sync tool. We do also have the, as Mike did mention, is that we have the Azure AD sync tool as well. I do not have a demo for you guys today to show this off, but our documentation does cover that extensively, where you can basically just add a Azure AD into the sync tool as well, and it will sync in the same exact way that I just showed you. And that's pretty much it for the sync tool.
All right, let me get my, there we go, reconnected here. All right, and with that, awesome. Thanks for that presentation, John. Really appreciate that overview of the Active Directory release. As we go into the Q&A here, I do have some questions, but if anybody wants to ask some more questions, use the Q&A functionality. We'll open it up to anything. Doesn't have to be about Active Directory specifically, anything to do with DNSFilter or we can challenge Mikey, ask him really pretty much AMA, whatever you want. We'll really put him to the test here. But let's start with one that often came up during the test group. Is there a way to configure Azure Sync without downloading anything?
So currently, the sync tool works with both Active Directory on-premise and the Azure AD in the cloud. We have already started a feedback question on our feedback system where you can vote on the specific feature to not have to download any software for Active Directory with the Azure Active Directory, which we're not able to get into this release, but we'll work towards that in the future.
And speaking of the future, things we're going to have coming out, are there other directory sync services coming?
Yeah, so we just launched Active Directory and we're really excited about it, but we're not going to stop there. We are investigating other LDAP services like G Suite. There's a few others, Open LDAP itself, and then there's a few other directory services that we do want to integrate with in the future. So we're not going to stop with Active Directory. We're going to try to integrate with as many as we can.
And some of that feedback that came out of the focus group, what was the main feedback that we got out of the focus group?
So they pointed out a few issues that were relatively minor, but we actually managed to get all of those fixed before our public launch. So we had about a 2-week time period with our beta testers and got a lot of good feedback from them, and we're able to get their suggestions into the final product as it stands now.
Anything coming in future releases that came out of the focus groups?
Well, one of the things that was crucial for the focus group was getting the data that the user data, like what type of traffic is the Active Directory collection sending. And we had plans all along to implement that, but we weren't sure if we were going to be able to get it available for the public launch. But we did, in fact, get that available in our Data Explorer. If you go to the reporting section of our dashboard, you can see all the collection traffic and then break it down by user. So you can see exactly what a specific user went to. And that's one of our main goals for the rest of the year, is to connect the user with the query.
What was the biggest challenge getting this live?
The biggest challenge, well, my job, part of my job is wrangling the dev team and getting everyone on the same page. So that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of ideas. We have a lot of Active Directory professionals on staff, including John that you heard from earlier, and they provided a lot of feedback. And there was a few disagreements, but we came out with a what we think is a polished first pass at Active Directory integration, and we look forward to hearing more feedback so we can make it even better.
Yeah, and speaking of feedback, Serena left a comment in the Q&A that if anybody wants to vote on new features, things that are coming up, you can check to DNSFilter.canny.io, where we have voting and you can do feature requests there. So go check that out. Serena dropped a link there in the Q&A. So what are you excited about coming up? What can we get a preview on?
Well,
leak something. What do we got?
Well, I wish we had a couple of questions to see what you guys are interested in, but we do have a lot of projects coming up in the near future. We have an effort for an alerting project where you will be notified by a mechanism of your choosing about specific events. Like if someone visits a threat page or a page with malware on it, you can be notified at the frequency of your choice and via the mechanism of your choice, like a webhook or an email or even a text message. So that's an alerting project that we have coming up in the near future that should be satisfying a lot of customer needs.
I know we've got to have some like technical people on the webinar. We've got to have some people who are doing reporting for customers. So I want to hear a question that really like challenges Mikey's tech knowledge. So I hope the attendees here come through for me. But I guess we'll see. I don't know. You just leave us hanging. So speaking of leaving us hanging, there's been some debate about this. We recently were the subject of a Tom Lawrence review, and we did not come out on top. There's been a lot of follow-up on that since then. I think the landscape has shifted a little bit where everybody's positioned on it. Can you give us a summary of what happened and where things stand right now?
Yeah, so first of all, Tom Lawrence is a revered person in the community, and I personally watch most of his videos that come out. I was very excited to see DNSFilter in the title of one of his emails or one of his videos. Although he did put a space between DNS and filter, but we'll let that slide. So I was really excited to see that we're getting some recognition. But then as I watched the video, I realized that this isn't painting DNSFilter in the best light. So we did some analysis of his methods, specifically regarding the list that he was using, and it turned out to be a list that was quite outdated. He said in the video that there was several thousand domains, of which only 150 or so still were actual websites. So he had to pare that list of thousands down to a couple of hundred right off the bat. And then on top of that, the domains that were in the list remaining were still old threats that are no longer threats, or some of them were no longer threats. So we had our security researcher, Peter. He did a great job of looking into that a little more in depth and coming up with the knowledge that the list is just outdated. So one of our biggest contentions is to, when something is no longer a threat, is to remove it from our feeds, and that all happens automatically with our AI engine. So if your website is compromised, we want to block it. But if that website becomes good again, we want to take that off of the threat list. So the specific list that was used in the video was just not a good list. And actually, since then, the maintainer of the list has removed it and deprecated it because he agrees with us that the list is outdated and shouldn't be used for such tests.
Yeah, and I guess the bottom line was that testing sites that are no longer a threat was unnecessary and inefficient, but that was kind of the criteria for the test. So once we were able to dig into that a little bit more, found out that everybody kind of came around, and we ended up looking pretty favorable coming out of that once everybody really took a closer look at what was going on.
Yeah, and just to touch on that one more time, we had a conversation with Tom Lawrence, and we really appreciated his analysis and his breadth of knowledge in the community, and we really respect him as a creator on YouTube, and just hope to have more dialogue with him in the future.
Definitely. We did get a question through the Q&A. One of our attendees, Kiera Pryor Williams: can policies be applied to Active Directory users to filter what they do, but the reporting be anonymized so you can't report on a specific user's activity, for example, GDPR purposes?
So with GDPR, you cannot tie any data to a user specifically. We do not currently have the means to anonymize the data in any way, but that is something we have talked about. There's no specific plans for that, but we would certainly look at that in the future. I could certainly start a feedback question about that and have votes on it and see how that goes, but that would be certainly useful.
Mm-hmm. And so John had something you wanted to add. You want to jump in, John?
Yeah, thanks. We got to remember that with GDPR, if we're pulling this information on a system or in your dashboard where GDPR is disabled, you can then view all the users. You can view the user traffic already. So as soon as you enable GDPR, it kind of breaks all the functionality or reasoning behind the Active Directory sync tool and the whole AD integration feature, because then we turn off all availability to view users, to view usernames, and to basically not be able to see any of the things protected under GDPR. So that is definitely something that we're going to consider. It's a great question. But as of right now, that is not possible.
All right, thanks, John. Hey, John, while you're here, can I ask you another question?
Of course.
So you're head of technical support. You deal with a lot of the issues that come in. What's maybe, knowing that we've got some customers watching, we've got some people who could potentially be users of DNSFilter. What's maybe the most common thing that you could, the best piece of advice that you could give to kind of prevent some of the most common problems?
So one thing that we see a little bit too often is that our customers fail to use the query tool. Now, this is a tool that allows you to basically see any and all queries made to the DNSFilter servers. So the query log tool, excuse me, the query log allows you to view all history made from any and all devices that have either the roaming client or just a forwarder set up to our servers. And most of the time, if there's a over restrictive policy, or if someone or an organization, they haven't declared their local domains properly, this will usually show up, or you'll get a hint at the problem in the query log. And it's definitely a tool that is underutilized. It is super powerful. I can't stress enough how good it is to self-troubleshoot and self-diagnose issues.
Okay. Anything you'd add to that, Mikey?
Yeah, the query log is often undervalued. It has basically the raw data that you're looking for to get troubleshoot a lot of things. I've actually spent some time on the support team, and we often use the query log to do exactly that. So definitely take a look if you haven't experienced having experience with the query log. And we also plan to update that in the future to make it even more useful.
Awesome. All right. So I think we're going to start to wind up here and move everybody over to the happy hour portion of the meeting. I'll get that. Let's see if I can post that link into the Q&As here. And as we get ready to move over, Mikey, you disappeared. I have one more question for you. So and I'll start asking. So tomorrow we're going to be doing the Umbrella versus DNSFilter. Can you give us a little bit of a preview on what's going to go down tomorrow?
Well, the gist is we're better.
All right, enough said. Care to elaborate? We'll show up tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah, come tomorrow.
All right, we'll do it. All right, we posted the Zoom link into the chat. You should be able to see that from Serena. We're going to move over to Zoom right now. I think we probably are sending that also by email. And thanks for joining. We'll see everybody over there.